Okay, so hello again. So I'm Laurent. I will talk about what we are doing at Arty Farty in terms of European projects, and also answer any questions you might have about what it means to work on this European project. We've been discussed a lot about that since this morning. Just before we were talking about the platforms and a bit about the network, and I will talk more in details about what it means to operate and coordinate a European network supported by Creative Europe, because Arty Farty is coordinating a network since last year. On my side, I've been working for Arty Farty since almost 7 years now. First as a curator of the discourse program of Arty Farty's activities, and now as a coordinator of this European network called Reset, and also involved on other European projects that we are doing at Arty Farty. And so what is Arty Farty? So it's a funny name, we were discussing it just before. It started as a music festival in Lyon. It was created by 3 women. Initially it was more rock and punk orientated with some kind of electronic music. And now it's mainly about electronic music, club culture, etc. But it started more as a rock festival. And yeah, one band, I forgot the name, but that's the way that the Arty Farty name came out, was that in an interview this band used this expression of Arty Farty, and so the 3 creators of the festival used it for the name of the association. The festival they started, so it was in 1999, is Nuits Sonores. That's the music festival we are organizing in Lyon. And so it started again in 1999, and in 2011 the team, I was not there, but the team started a new project called European Lab, and it was a way to connect and invite and gather different like-minded cultural stakeholders during the festival, because we had this festival with lots of artists playing on stages, but also professionals were coming to the festival, other people working in the industry, people running festivals, people running record labels, people running media and any kind of cultural projects, but there was not any space to gather these people together. So this is how European Lab started in 2011. With the aim and the objective to create a space for these cultural actors, these cultural professionals, to discuss all together, of course to network and to meet each others. That's an important element during a festival, to have this space provided for that, but also to discuss some of the big issues that the cultural sector is facing. So we started in 2011 with some panel discussions, talks, program, workshops, screenings, and different kind of formats, which is something now quite not popular, but something which is more like lots of festivals do have these kind of spaces now, but it's very important. With what I want to explain to you is that it was funded with a EU project, but it was before the creation of these cooperations and networks and platforms grants. I don't remember the exact name of the program that we used to fund this project, but it was already a EU funding. And this is how the European story of Arty Farty, let's say, started. Because with European Lab, each year during the festival in Lyon, we started to invite people at European Lab to talk about what they are facing as challenges, also what they are doing as activities and any kind of stuff, and also to network and to connect with these like-minded cultural professionals. So yeah, like it's it started in Lyon, but the project grew in Europe, and so and not only in Europe but also in North Africa with the edition in Tanger in Morocco. And we did organize these formats also in Paris, as you can see in 2015. And in Paris, it was not with the festival, it was only the discourse program, European level. We did an edition also in Seoul, in South Korea, and then in a few different cities in Frankfurt, Delphi, Madrid, in Budapest, in Cluj-Napoca in Romania. So this was like one-shot European Lab editions, but it was very important in the European construction of Arty Farty because these editions of European Lab in Cluj, in Frankfurt, in Delphi and other places in Europe was a way to connect more and more with local cultural stakeholders. Because each time we are organizing a European Lab edition in these cities, we really connect with the local scene. So we invite these cultural professionals, people running, again, people doing media activities, people running local festivals, local activists, local researchers, many different profiles. We invite them at European Lab and we connect with them. And this informal network that started in 2011 with the kickoff of European Lab was a way to start building links and building connections with many different people across Europe. And and so in 2011, 2011 was the start of European Lab, and in 2016 we applied to Creative Europe for the first time. Well, we applied in 2015, but we get granted for 2016 with We Are Europe, which is a cooperation project as part of the Creative Europe grant, as it was explained just before. You have corporations, platforms, and networks. We Are Europe is a corporations, and basically the role of the corporation was really to foster the mobility of artists and of cultural professionals. So the aim of this corporation was to make artists move from a festival to another. So Insomnia is one of the partners of this corporation. And so, for example, so we were working on these co-curation activities. And for example, 1 year, Insomnia and Nuits Sonores needed to discuss together to invite artists at Insomnia Festival, and also to invite artists at Nuits Sonores. So, for example, thanks to this collaboration, we managed to bring Sami artists from northern Norway in Lyon. And on our side, we could also invite some French, but not only French, it was really open in terms of curation, but it was a way to exchange ideas, to exchange also good practices between the members of the different festivals, and to foster also the mobility of ideas, because all the participants of the We Are Europe corporations did have a music program, so festival, like bringing artists on stages, but all of them, we also had a discourse program, so the mobility was not only about artists and musicians, but it was also like bringing some researchers or journalists or authors or activists, or I don't know, but like people who could travel and be part of some panel discussions, be part of some workshops at the festival who was invited. So that's what we did, and this We Are Europe cooperation is the also some kind of conclusions of and the follow-up on what we've been doing with European Lab, because as I was explaining with European Lab, when we started the project, the aim was really to connect with like-minded organizations, with other cultural professionals, etc. But it was quite informal. It was just like, okay, we invite you on our festival, we invite you to talk on these panel discussions, or we invite you to be part of this workshop. But through this way, we started to build this informal network. And so when we decided to apply to Creative Europe to the cooperation grants, it was some kind of follow-up, because we already had this existing network of cultural festival and partners. And when we apply to Creative Europe, because when you apply to this kind of project, it's always with other people, other organizations. So we just use this informal network to apply with them and to create this We Are Europe project. Yeah, and so maybe to continue on what we were doing with We Are Europe, the main activity was this co-curation. So we worked together between the different artistic directors of each festivals to invite artists between the different events, but also the artistic directors of the discourse program of the festival. So for example, on my side in Lyon, for European Lab, I was working with the team at Insomnia, who is like working on the discourse program of Insomnia, to bring some artists or some cultural professionals to European Lab, and it was like an exchange in both ways. We also had these faces of We Are Europe. So each year we selected, I think it was 64 personalities, artists, but also not just musicians. Also like, so it was 32 artists, like 32 musicians, and 32 cultural actors that could be like, again, journalists, philosophers, writers, people running festivals, or any kind of profiles. And these people, these faces, were represented on the different festivals and in the different panel discussions formats of the festival. And these people also were represented on a media platform that we created with We Are Europe, which is the same name, and this is the current project, but I will get back to it later. And we also had these overseas events. The thing is, so this was the second version of the project, because from 2016 to 2018, we only had co-curation activities. So when we applied to Creative Europe for the first time, it was only co-curating between the different festivals. But then when we wrote again the new project for the second round of We Are Europe, we decided to implement these faces of We Are Europe, but also these overseas events. So the thing it was that we got the grants for the second round. It was in 2019, and COVID, of course, appeared the year after, so we couldn't, of course, do these overseas events. So we only did one in New York with one of our partners, with Unsound, with also part of Shape, and this is also something interesting. Like it's like there is few overlapping between the different platforms and corporations and networks. Like some of the members of Shape are also part of We Are Europe, and some of them are also in We Are Europe, which and also in Shape, but also in the Reset network, which is another network. I will talk about it.
So maybe I'll explain, because the scene is quite small.
Yep.
And there are only like a finite number of players, and we kind of like know each other or of each other. And but like for the European Union, this is not a hurdle to apply. I mean, like an organization can be part of like several projects. Maybe if it's like too many projects, then it might become a problem. But that's more of a problem for the reporting and administration. But you can totally be part of like 3-4 European projects at the same time.
Yeah. The only thing which could be like not an issue but problematic is that if you want to finance one activity, you cannot finance it through 2 different EU funding. So for example, if an artist is invited by Shape, for example, the money you cannot pay any part of these artist activities with We Are Europe fundings. So you need, as an administrative team, you need to be very careful in the way that you fund the European part of your program, let's say. Yeah, so this was for We Are Europe. So just in the building of the Arty Farty's European project, let's say, we started with European Lab, like informal network of like-minded organizations and speakers on stage, etc., to discuss challenges, etc. When we decided to go for this Creative Europe cooperation, we just used this informal network to apply because we already had existing links with these actors. And then another part of this Arty Farty's European project is this network called Reset. So as it was said before, one of the main difference between the cooperation projects, the platforms and the network is that the network, there is like a strong advocacy dimension behind the network. So you have different networks in Europe, 37 in total. You have networks for not for theaters, but like for example, you have networks for European composers. You have networks for cultural venues. You have networks for live music, contemporary live music. And each of them are like try to advocate for their own sector. So you have networks which are like very sectorial. So it's really about music, for example, or it's really about heritage. Europa Nostra that was mentioned before, like for example, really advocate for European patrimoine and heritage in Europe. And some of them are these networks, some of them are here for like ages, like some networks are like 40 years old, some networks are like 20 years old. And so it's not always easy to bring a new network in the Creative Europe family, let's say. So we were really like surprised and happy to be awarded for Reset because it's a really new network on a thematics which is not really easy to grasp sometimes because it's a network of independent cultural and media organizations, which means that our members are not part of larger private groups, and they are not also under the support of public fundings, like public bodies, I would say, because of course most of the members of this network do have some public fundings to run their activities and their program, etc. But none of them are like directly under the control of public bodies. So it's a 3-year project. We started last year, and yeah, again, one of the main role of Reset is to advocate for this independent cultural and media sector, because if you look at all the existing network in Europe, there is not that much support for this independent players. So we try to raise our voice with this network and to provide policy feedbacks to the European Commissions on the way that they build their program and the way that these programs are not really fit to the issues that the independent organizations are facing. So, and to do that, we did organize like a series of workshops across Europe with the members of Reset. So Insomnia, for example, organized 5 workshops in Norway. It was on very different topics. So this you can check this list on our website. But the idea was really to understand how the independent cultural and media actors and organizations are tackling some very important topics. The topics were selected by the members themselves. So, and in their city, they were like inviting some local actors to be part of these discussions, and later provide some kind of a written report, so we could, at the end, and this is what we are doing at the moment, and we will release some publication at the end of 2023 with some like recommendations on different topics, and also to like provide mapping on how the independent cultural sector is like addressing some very important topics right now in Europe, whether it is ecological sustainabilities, European collaborations, decentralized technologies. Yeah, you have plenty of topics. So right now we are like collecting all this information and writing the later publication. So that's one role of the.
Sorry, what will be the output? Like, will it be a book or a website or like?
So it's there's gonna be first like 8 online publication that will be like between 40 and 50 pages. Each of them is on a specific topic because like following all the workshops that took place across Europe, we identified 8 major thematics, let's say. And so we are like right now like writing this 8 publication that will include articles from different journalists across Europe that are documenting the state of these independent scenes, the reports of all these discussions that took place across Europe, and also some interviews of the Reset members and also other cultural organizations across Europe to understand like their vision on these different thematics and also some recommendations. So that's the first step at the end of 2023, and then in March we will release like a sum up of this 8 manifesto that will include more concrete recommendations for the sector, and that will be like a tool that we will use to advocate for the sector. Yeah, because there is like the European elections taking place in June, so it's gonna be. We should do it already now, but it takes some time to reflect on all these topics. But the European elections are taking place here in June, so in March we still have some time to present this. We call that a manifesto that will be published in March. We will use this manifesto to talk to some MEPs and also people at the European Commissions to provide some policy feedbacks on what they are doing, basically. And so that's one thing, this advocacy dimension, which is not really easy because like when what we were doing with We Are Europe, for example, we were like working on some very concrete activities, let's say, like inviting artists on different festivals, inviting speakers on the stages of the conferences, and so when you are doing some kind of advocacy or some kind of lobbying, because it's just another way to say it, it's a complete new approach to your project. So this is challenging. It's very interesting, and it's very interesting also to understand how the European Commission is working and how this agency is operating, and yeah, it's very interesting, but quite challenging to understand also who is doing what at the European Commission, because you have different units as part of the European Commissions. So it's also a process for us to learn how this whole machine is working, and it's quite interesting. So yeah, like advocacy is one part of what we are doing. We also have some more like documentation of the independent cultural scene. So we are working with different journalists, writers, researchers across Europe. So we are like working with them we are commissioning we are commissioning their work to release their articles on the Reset website. And we are going to have a new website in the coming days. This one is a bit of a mess, but we will have a new website in the coming days with some of the publication that we've been working with, that journalists have been working with in the past weeks and months. So that's one other dimension of Reset, this media production, and another dimension of Reset is the capacity building of the members of the network, which means that as part of Reset, we provide, we don't like to call that trainings, but more like we call them the toolboxes. So basically, as part of Reset, we provide online sessions and different content, pedagogic content to our members to empower them on specific topics. So for example, we did organize the first toolbox of Reset a few weeks ago. It was about the access to European fundings, because most of the time these grassroots and independent organizations are not always connected with the European fundings, and it's sometimes difficult for them to understand how to apply to European fundings. So it's a similar thing that we are doing now actually, but we are doing it online for the Reset members, and we have other toolboxes that will be provided to the Reset members in the coming months. And how did we select the topic for these toolboxes is the result of all the workshops that took place in the past months as part of Reset. We identified some very important topics on which there is a need for our members to be empowered on. And following that, we also shared some surveys to the members to understand what they were needed in terms of topics. And following this, we are designing the toolboxes of Reset. So that's for the capacity building dimension of the network. Yeah, and so also in terms of so as you can see, like from European Lab, which was like a very informal network, we invited people to be part of some conferences, etc. But through these formats, we managed to connect with lots of European organizations, and thanks to this informal network, we could apply to Creative Europe to this cooperation project, because we already had links and connections with them. And through this Creative Europe project, We Are Europe, the network grew also, and this is why now, like, so now it's 66, well, 73 members actually. We just integrated new members in the past days. We started with 34 members, but this was made possible because we had these existing informal networks and informal connections with several organizations across Europe. So when we reached out to them and explaining what was the project, they were okay to be part of it because we had these existing connections together. Yeah, what else I wanted to say? Yeah, just one thing is that for the media parts of Reset, so all these commissioning pieces that we are commissioning to different journalists, researchers, authors, etc. We will also release this material on We Are Europe, which and this is how it becomes tricky, but and I will get to it later. But like We Are Europe as a cooperation project stopped 2 years ago. We applied to continue the project, but then the first time it didn't succeed, and this is why at the same time we started Reset in 2022. And now we have this new project, this cooperation project, which is a follow-up of We Are Europe, which is now called Times. So it's a digest of the project, so it's not very relevant to show, but like basically it involves the same partners, almost the same partners as We Are Europe, including Insomnia and few other new partners. And this Creative Europe cooperation project changed its focus because the priorities changed also, as you were explaining before. So as I said before, it was mainly about inviting artists on the different stages of the festival, inviting speakers to be part of some panel discussions, etc. And now the focus is way more around a residency program, a long-term approach on some territories. So as you were saying before, the aim is not just to invite one artist for one night and then ciao, but rather to invite a bunch of different artists in one city. They will stay longer in the city, connect with the local scene, provide some workshops, like educational program for local people in the city. So it's really like a shift in the way that the project has been written to really answer the new priorities of the European Commission. So Times is the new We Are Europe, let's say, but We Are Europe will still exist, but without any fundings, and it will exist only with a media focus. So we will just keep the brands and operate the brands to run some kind of media, but without any EU fundings. And we won't produce any content. We will just rely on the content that our partners are already producing, and we will just aggregate these different contents on We Are Europe. And for example, as Reset is producing content, this Reset content will be made available on We Are Europe. And we have other partners in Europe who are also working on some media production and media content production. We will offer them to reshare the content on this aggregatorial platform. That's a little bit what I wanted to explain, this different aspect of the European project at Arty Farty and the way it has been built from a very informal network of like-minded organizations to formal and concrete first cooperation and then network. And now the network is still growing. The cooperation will start at the beginning of next year. And also what I also wanted to say that these networks, depending on the field you are involving, it can be interesting for you to be part of some network. So if you are in more like a circus, for example, there is this network that was mentioned before for circus actors. And to be part of these European networks, EU-funded European networks, but you have also other networks which are operating without the support of the EU. It's also a way to have a first approach and a first connection with other people who are evolving in your sector. So you can have a look on the maybe if you take a look at Creative Europe networks, they have this list of that's it. They have this list of networks that they support, and depending on your field of activity, you can maybe find a network which fits to what you are doing. For example, you have network of architecture, of book and publishing. You have these cross-sectoral networks. So Reset is part of this trans-sectorial network because we don't really. It's not just about music. It's not just about cinema, but it's as part of Reset. We have cinemas, we have bookshops, we have online community radios, festival, music organizations. But it's really more our focus. It's more about we only gather independent structures. But you have also networks for cultural heritage, networks for music, of course, and there is a network. I'm not sure there is a network for each kind of sector, but there might be one of them, and you could reach out to them and check if you could be part of them. Some of them are a bit sometimes. It's hard sometimes to be part of some networks because some of them are here for 40 years, for example, but others are quite open. Reset is quite open, for example, so if you are interested, feel free to reach out. But it depends on the field of activity you are involved in. And also something I wanted to mention, so this is, I just presented the European project that Arty Farty was coordinating as a project leader, let's say. But this informal network is also a way to be asked to be part of other European projects. So for example, we are part of this the Circle project. We are not leading this project, we are just a simple partner. But it's a way for us to connect our existing activities like resets, maybe times for example, and this new project, because it's always interesting to see in which way this could connect, because for example the Circle project, the coordinator of this project is Are We Europe. It's online media. They are part of Reset. We used to work with them with We Are Europe. So there are like a lot of connections that are possible. If you once you are part of this European project, you can have different opportunities to join projects and to and to see how you can connect your activities with this new project. So this is one of them, and this is another one that Arty Farty is involved in, not as a leader but just as a partner. It's so Sphera Network. It's called Network, but it's not exactly a network as part of the Creative Europe network family, but it's still a network of independent media, and Arty Farty is one of the partners. And also again the organization who is like coordinating this project is called Babel International, and Babel International is also a member of Resets. So again there are like a lot of interconnections between the different projects, even though the focus are quite can be quite different. And then there was like few questions and points, but maybe I'm already too long. But just to say that, in our team at Arty Farty, we have people, as we are coordinating two, let's say, big-scale projects, Reset and Times, we have some people at Arty Farty who are like directly involved to work on European projects. So we have one person in charge of the administrative topics of the European projects. We have one person who is in charge of the communication of all the European projects of Arty Farty. And we always have someone, at least one person, but we try always to have two persons to coordinate the different projects. So for example, for Reset, we are two coordinators. One of them is not strictly employed by Arty Farty. She's based in Spain. And it's very important to have also, as we are talking about European project, it's important that the team is not only from France and from Lyon. So we are very like trying to open the team with new people who can be part of the team, but who are not based in France or even not French. And that's quite important, I think, for a European project. And then I'm already too long. Maybe you have some questions.
I want to ask, how does it work? Let's say you have a first project, you start with Arty Farty, and then you having another project. Does it work that it's like a new law entity also, or it's just a platform? Or is it like a kind of new company that you have to do contability and all this stuff like separately, or is it everything under one roof?
It's everything under Arty Farty. So
Okay.
we always use the Arty Farty which is the legal entity behind each project. The thing is with the network, for example, it's still Arty Farty who is like coordinating the network. But it's quite it's something that we will think about in the future. Do we need to keep Arty Farty behind the network, or should we create a new entity? Because we are talking about a network, so a network should also be like something which is not only run by one organization, but which could be like shared with different organizations. So it's something that we are thinking. Now we are like operating the network for the first 3 years, so we are also trying to make it work, and we have lots of other challenges. But it's something that we are thinking about maybe for the future, maybe create a new legal entity to operate the network, because if you take a look at the other European networks, like most of them, it's quite unusual that one organization is like also doing other stuffs. And for example, if you take Culture Action Europe, they have these fundings to operate their network, but that's the same entity. Like Culture Action Europe is the network, and we are. It's Arty Farty, which is funded to run a brand like Reset. But yeah, there is like multiple questions following this.
I was going to say, by creating a new entity, do you think it's easier to get fundings directly to the network instead of it then going through?
I think as Carlo explained before, you have to have the organization for 2 years minimum before you apply. So you kind of like, even if you would want to do what Laurent was saying, you have to like create the entity first and then wait 2 years before you can apply.
Yeah, for European funding, but like in...
But it's most of the fundings, I think, because even for the Norwegian grants and everything, you have to hand them like the checks and balances for the past 2 years. And if the organization didn't exist for 2 years, you don't have any account for 2 years. But like this is exactly it. Like even like Shape runs on the MeetFactory, and it's important that MeetFactory has a high enough turnover annual, because like this is what the EU calls financial capacity. And if you do not have like enough, like we had this like huge problem in 2016, I think 17, because like MeetFactory, like they are really like they get your numbers for your organization, your profit, losses, everything. They put it into some spreadsheet, and they push a button that says like either green, like yes, that the financial capacity is good enough, or red, which is not good enough, which was the case for MeetFactory. So at that point, so you actually have to have like a really solid, stable organization behind if you want it, because like Shape currently receives like the grant is 2.1 million euro, which is quite a lot of money, and basically the EU wants to make sure you can handle that volume of money before they give it to you. And so if you start a new organization that has like zero income, zero profit, zero loss, then like they're like, yeah, we don't know if you're trustworthy.
And then this is what we do. It's slightly different, but it's still in his. And it's like if because it says there, like for example, the culture still red. It says that basically it says like up to 80% of the funding.
Yeah.
So what if they give you less? How do they then look at the way how you then cost it? Because it obviously they give you 60%.
No. They give you like this is where the Creative Europe differs to let's say Ministry of Culture here in Czech Republic, because like there you get what you ask for.
Okay, so they do, because there's the wording now is slightly changed, because I did last year like a test project whatever when I didn't submit it, and it said we will give you this, and then this year it says the word is changed, and so I suddenly was wondering if it didn't change into this like Czech approach where it's like we give you, then we end up with 30%. No, they give you all until you apply, if you were succeed. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. So thank you. Just like just to wrap it up, this is actually part of the project that we run the Synapse again. That this event is part of this session was to formulate like the good practices when starting international collaboration and fundraising for these like international projects. which is like what I will have to do after this is finished, and and I will have to write down like 1 or 2 pages, and it will be part of like we will put it online, and we will put like these videos online as well. So this is I mean like this is just an example of how the projects work. So you know it's not just that it's good enough for us to be here and speak, but like the output is actually like put this online and like create like this will create. This is like the sustainability of the project. Like even if the funding runs out, like these videos and the document will remain somewhere online for everyone to read, which is part of like how you write the project. If you maybe want to succeed, that you know, like you should always like there's usually a question like so how does the project continue when the funding runs out? And this is the answer. Yeah, there will be the videos online, that there's a good practice document somewhere online remaining even after that.
So then this is what always I'm curious about, because it's always this question, what is then sustainability, because obviously even the website needs to be paid for.
Yes.
So then what is what is from your experience in a good practice, how long is the sustainability?
It's good to specify it actually. I mean I think you can put it even into the budget, like pay for the domain for and for the hosting for the next 5 years.
Okay.
And they will say, okay, this is nice. Like it's not that much money for it to remain online for 5 years.
Yeah. Alright, that's what I was curious. It's like 5-10 years.
I don't know like what will be in 10 years, but I would say like if it stays online for 3 or 5 years, that's like good enough. But as I said, like these costs are eligible in, if the hosting invoices you within the period of the grant for the next 5 years, then it's still eligible cost.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.